For those of you currently using your heads as a nice fill-in inside a breeze block sandwich because of the news of the upcoming Indiana Jones movie, then fear not, I'm here to shed a light on what might seem like a dark situation. I'm sure most of you are aware at this point that the new Indiana Jones movie is due to release in just over a month, and people are tastefully skeptical, I think is a gentle way of putting it. Yes, The Dial of Destiny, the latest installment in a franchise that currently has 3 films to its name. What do you mean there's a 4th one? There's not... Was Shia LaBeouf in it? No, of course not. I don't remember something like that. You must be mistaken. Concerns surrounding The Dial of Destiny started, well, pretty much straight away when it was first announced back in, 2016, 2017? I mean, okay, no one was particularly outraged, but it did leave a lot of people thinking... Why? But eyebrows really began to raise when we learned that Indy himself was going to be replaced in his own movie, or at least become a subordinate, and, that's always fun. A trailer and reviews then hit the internet just over this last week, and it would appear that the initial skepticism shown by some was not only warranted, but probably a bit of an underreaction. We find out that in The Dial of Destiny, Indy will be stripped of not only his heroic status, but also his marital status too, as he's now divorced and living alone at the ripe old age of, 103. But it's not just the filmmakers and the writers that seem to be undermining Mr. Jones. No, it's also his new counterpart in the film, who, in their own words, they describe as resourceful, daring, beautiful, and self-sufficient. Fabulous. Let's hope they don't make a big song and dance about it.
How did you end up like this?
What do you mean? Resourceful, daring, beautiful, self-sufficient?
We're all doomed. Harrison Ford has once again become that old guy in the movie that was in the superior original movie. This poor man has seen one of his most iconic characters murdered by Disney, and now he has to sit by whilst it happens all over again and they let Indiana Jones rust in the waters of modern day Lucasfilm. If you're not going to respect the characters, just leave the veterans alone, man. Like, they're going to try and find some way of reanimating Sean Connery for the next film, aren't they? See. Junior. It's a little bit Robert De Niro, but I had to get the impression in there somewhere. The truth is, George Lucas and Spielberg couldn't successfully resurrect what up until 2008 was a peacefully sleeping franchise that still basked in nothing but universal admiration. Indiana Jones is known by many to be the greatest trilogy of movies ever made, and the fact that Spielberg and Lucas together both couldn't pull off a sequel worthy of the whip, I mean, what chance has anyone else got? Unfortunately, we're about to find out in about a month. But of course, I've not seen The Dial of Destiny yet, so I'm not going to pass any harsh judgment about it until I have. But, it's been reported that this is possibly the most expensive movie ever made, or at least one of the most expensive movies ever made. So come on, I mean, they're going to have the best people on the job. Oh, we're still doomed. But fret not, my fellow Indiana Jones fans, because I thought we'd take this moment, rather than to look bleakly into the future of this franchise, instead, we're going to take a nice leisurely stroll down the golden paved paths of the past. And what better place to start than the beginning? Back in the year of 1981, a movie released that would go on to be one of the highest rated and most beloved of all time, and that was, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And just before we take a look at this legend of cinema, a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Extra. Extra is known for inventing the first trackable wallet, and now they're on a mission to upgrade the rest of your carry essentials. They make sustainable wallets, bags, and accessories that help you get more out of your everyday. Without exception, I've turned down every paid sponsorship offer for this channel so far for various reasons, the most common of which being they've been products that I just couldn't get behind. Things that I wouldn't personally endorse and therefore wouldn't promote to you guys. So I'm very happy to announce that the very first official sponsor on this channel is a great company like Extra. They make products that I actually use on a daily basis. This is my go-to, the aluminium card holder. And, I like to keep it classy. It's in a nice black, but this is available in a range of 14 different colours. Extra card holders are also made of space-grade aluminium, hold up to 12 cards plus cash, and they block RFID, so you can be sure that your cards are safe. Right now, it's 30% off for Father's Day, so make sure to go and check the top link in the description and use code Jonny for an extra discount at checkout. And a big thank you to Extra for sponsoring this video. Raid Shadow Legend. Raiders of the Lost Ark was released more than a decade before I was born, and in the early 2000s, when I first watched this movie as a kid, it was the most impactful movie I watched. I am still yet to have seen a film that has satisfied my want for adventure quite like this did. I I feel we're gonna have to crack out the jar. It's yeah, we're gonna be using this one a bit today. Currently sat at 55 on the IMDb Top 100, which is a little low if you ask me, but still, nonetheless, it is very impressive. I think for a lot of people, Indiana Jones redefined what it meant to be a hero. The past Hollywood heroes at that time had all been very cool, very calm, very collected, but Indy had a bit of an edge to him. I mean, he was brave, don't get me wrong, and always had a plan, but when it came time to execute that plan, there was always a bit of an air of clumsiness about him.
He was always getting himself hurt and in trouble, and he wasn't quite up to what he was supposed to be.
In my opinion, these rough edges helped to plant Indiana Jones within reality, and as far as 8-year-old me was concerned, he was a real guy, and I was just watching a documentary. Raiders of the Lost Ark follows the escapades of Indiana Jones and his race against the Nazis to find the Ark of the Covenant, a relic said to be so powerful it could level mountains, rendering the army behind it invincible. Can Indy get there in time, or will it fall into the hands of Austrian Charlie Chaplin? Who knows, but even as a kid, I could tell that this movie was special. I mean, sure, I grew up in the Robert Rodriguez era, where all kids' films were bombastic romps in front of a green screen. So when the practical effects and real-world backdrops of this movie first hit my young retinas, it was a revelation. I've got I think the only special effects that they used in this movie was, the sky during the digging scene, and then right at the end when they open the Ark. And even then, that scene is, predominantly practical effects. And much like the original Star Wars trilogy, it's aged so well. I mean, yeah, sure. Does it look as good as, polished, shiny, nice CGI? No. It's got this very retro look to it. It's still got that old film grain, which I personally actually quite like. But the way these movies were made, almost entirely practical. The way these movies were made, you just will not see that anymore. God damn it, I've got it. The opening scene is stuff of legend. Booby traps, the golden idol, the boulder chase, aquaplane getaways. It wastes no time throwing your headfirst into the action and establishing one of the main antagonists. It's a great way of getting the audience on board right away, just before slowing the pace of the movie down so that you can set up for the rest of the adventure. And who could forget the very first ba-ba-da-ba. And that brings us on to the score, which is arguably one of the most iconic things about this movie. Everyone knows that song. I mean, obviously I can't play it because of copyrights, but everyone knows it. You already know it. And for those of you who said, "Oh, just try pitching it down to avoid copyright," I've already done that, and it just ends up sounding like a Jaws parody. I told you. Even the exposition in this movie is cleverly woven into the script. I mean, exposition isn't inherently a bad thing, it just so happens that it's one of the first tools that bad writers happen to reach for. But that's not the case here. Take the scene in the school. It's basically just 5 minutes of solid exposition. It's there to set up the rest of the movie. It explains what the Ark is, why the Nazis are looking for it, and why India has been chosen to go after it. But it's not clumsy. And the writers made sure that it wasn't just characters needlessly spewing unwarranted information at one another simply to make the plot make sense. It's a believable setting with natural dialogue, and that is something that New Hollywood can definitely learn a thing or two from. Okay, no, I definitely heard it with that one. Yeah. The cinematography is just... This is Spielberg at his best, in my opinion. This represents a time where visionaries were taking risks and had more of a chance to take risks. No one had heard of Indiana Jones at this point, and they really went all out with this movie. You just don't get that these days. It's not the fault of the filmmakers, though. No. In my opinion, it's the fault of the studios. I mean, look, if studios have fostered an environment where filmmakers just can't take risks anymore. If you offer a studio, look, you can have a middle-of-the-road movie. It's okay, average response, makes a decent bit of money. There you go. Or a risky movie that could blow up. It's something new, could blow up, make millions of dollars, or it could possibly crash and burn. I mean, the studio is always going to pick the safe option, and that's what they have been doing, and that's what they will continue to do. And unfortunately, I'm not even saying they don't make movies like they used to anymore. I'm saying they physically can't. Filmmakers are just not being allowed to take risks like they used to.
Good evening, Fräulein.
The bar is closed.
We are not thirsty.
Dude, talk about a great villain. As a kid, I was genuinely terrified of this guy. Ronald Lacey has the gravitas of, a sledgehammer to the temple. He is he just oozes evil. And the funny thing is, he'd resigned from acting. He'd quit. I think he quit to become an agent, actually. And then this was a bit of a comeback role, and what a role it was.
Yeah. Right.
What's up? You're acting like you've never seen an Egyptian Nazi monkey before. What's wrong with you? Yeah, this was back in the days when cars would explode spontaneously for no good reason. Like, the truck just tipped over, and that was just the most unnecessarily large explosion. I love it. John Rhys-Davies as Salah, the Egyptian archaeologist, is fantastic. Such a good actor, and he's got great comedic timing. But if the thought of a Welshman playing an Egyptian isn't funny enough these days, Spielberg initially wanted to hire Danny DeVito for this role. Can you imagine? The only reason he didn't end up getting it is because the TV show that he was working on at that time just couldn't make the dates work. That would have been hilarious. Fun fact, some of the desert scenes in this movie were shot in the exact same location that George Lucas had used for Tatooine in A New Hope. And that's not the only Star Wars reference. Did you catch it? If you pay very close attention to the hieroglyphs, you'll see that those characters don't look particularly Egyptian. And also, the submarine that was used in this movie was borrowed from the set of Das Boot that was filming at the time. Ah, yes, the snake scene. It is pretty gnarly. You know, I'd always thought that it was just a whole bunch of fake snakes with a few real ones thrown in here and there just to give it the illusion of movement. But nope, they had 1,000 snakes on the set and just spread them out. And then apparently Spielberg saw this and was like, we need more snakes. And then sent Frank Marshall, one of the producers, to go get 7,000 more snakes, who was actually Kathleen Kennedy's husband as well, actually. So, you know, he could have saved a whole lot of time and just brought his wife back. Got him! One of the most common criticisms you'll hear leveled at this movie is that Indiana Jones actually does nothing to serve the plot. I'm sure you've all heard this. If he'd never turned up, they would have still ended up finding the Ark, opening it, and all dying. He never needed to be there. Now, anyone that says this has kind of missed the point of the movie. The point of an Indiana Jones movie is the adventure, like the sense of adventure and getting lost within that. The true beauty of these films is that Indiana Jones never gets the gold. He doesn't take the Ark home. He lets the Holy Grail go. He doesn't get the Crystal Skull. It's the things he finds along the way, like love and understanding. It's the lessons he learns that are the things of real value. The overarching lesson is that the treasure, the big glowing MacGuffin, although it acts as a catalyst for the story, it isn't really that important. But adventure and having the guts to pursue it are. And the things you learn from the journey, that's the real treasure. And yeah, that sounds kind of cheesy saying it out loud, but it's true. And I really do miss the days of, you know, fundamental morals being the backbone of entertainment. Love, courage, family, the want for adventure. Things that speak to us as humans, the human within us. Raiders, a movie made in the 80s, with its, at times, questionable depictions of culture and predominantly white cast, is one of the most inclusive movies ever made. Because it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe, what you look like, none of it matters. Because it speaks to the thing that makes you human. It doesn't matter where on the political spectrum you land. Everyone has a sense of adventure. It doesn't matter where on the spectrum of love you are. It's the love itself and whether it's sincere. It's so good to go back and watch a movie like this. And it's so good to remember the good things about Indiana Jones. Modern Hollywood can learn a thing or two from its own history. Going off the reviews of The Dial of Destiny, it's looking like they've been skipping school. You can put Harrison Ford in it. That doesn't make it an Indiana Jones movie. Unfortunately. People want a sense of adventure with a nice bit of subtext as well, and preferably without a ham-fisted, half-thought lecture about who you should be rather than what and where you want to be. I'll be watching The Dial of Destiny when it's out, and I'll be anxiously awaiting to see whether it's worthy of the name. It's not looking too good at the moment, but like I say, I'll wait to pass any judgment. But in the meantime, we've got the live-action Little Mermaid to watch. Oh, no. So stick around for my next video, which will probably be about that. But in the meantime, do take care of yourselves, and I do appreciate you watching this video. Take care. And as always, a big shout out to my Patreons and channel members. God bless each and every one of you. Flunky, Pozobon, Infinite Dum Dum, Koss, Jax, David, ATS, Texas Lawman, and Michael. The top tier members. And you are exactly that. My tier 2 members as well. Say Dr. Melsky, Yonwich, Hadziu, Kenneth Dogramachi, Mark Maiden, Sensei Fang, Mendicant Bias, Dagger D69, Michael S, Saint Nemo, Rich Warwick, Madga and Jarek, and Nystagmus. Each and every one of you, thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Really do appreciate it. And also, I want to welcome Mario Buccicchio That is a magnificent name you have there, my friend. Welcome to the tier 1. And also, McGrail, I'm so sorry that I spelt your name wrong. Thank you very much for pointing that out to me, though. I have made sure to correct that as well. Yes, thank you each and every one of the tier 1s as well. I really do appreciate it. And there we go. Another day, another video. Will you join me for my next one? You better do, you little bitch. But until then, take care.